Today I want to talk about something that's a little bit different. If you've ever watched my channel for any length of time, you know I like to talk about all the processes and what we do with our garden and what will take you further along in that gardening process. The simplicity of it, ways it can save you money, and things along those lines. But today, just something on my mind and something I've been thinking about, and that's here at Whirlwind Family Farm. We live on a fairly small piece of land here in Central Texas. If you look up there, you can actually see up towards where the market garden is at, where I do most of my videos. But today I'm out on one of our trails. We have a trail that goes around our land. It's just a nice place to come out, spend some time, see a little bit of wildlife, be able to get some exercise and do something different during the day. So we really do enjoy this trail. It was one of the things I made when I first bought this piece of land, and you can see as the trail makes its way along there, headed west, and then I'm going to walk around this way going east. And really what this video is about is me talking about wildlife and how it plays into that ecosystem of your land. And I think it's extremely important. I think it's always been important. And I think it's something, if you're a hunter and you're harvesting meat off of the land or off of a hunting lease each year, it's important. If you're a farmer or a rancher that owns that land and you're depending on that income each year for that lease or that hunting lease, it's extremely important. And I think that's why we have to be good stewards of it. So I'll go to an example of something that's been very harmful to our soil and land around here, and that's feral hogs. I will tell you, when I first bought this piece of land, it looked like somebody had taken a rotiller through here, out over which now has a lot of native grasses on it. There were several, just looked like these pits where these hogs, these feral hogs, had come in and rooted around. Of course, they're looking for grubs and they're trying to survive, but they are an invasive species and they are extremely damaging to cropland in this area. And this is my own theory. I just something that has been in my mind for quite a while is that there are a lot of coyotes in this area, a lot of coyotes in this area. There's parts of Texas where they have almost been removed. I was born and raised in deep South Texas. You used to hear coyotes all the time, and I'm told now you just don't really hear them at night. Usually here at dusk. There's certain nights, and I'm a little concerned. I haven't heard many in the last few months, but you tend to hear them more in the wintertime. But they'll start yipping and yelping right around dusk or first thing early in the morning. And I don't know exactly why they do that, if they're just calling on each other or if it's a hierarchy thing. Not sure. I've heard different theories. But there's also been a lot of trapping of those coyotes in this area. And, um, and I understand it. I get it. If you have sheep or goat, those coyotes can be just like what an insect is to me. Insects can be very damaging inside my garden, and I hate what the insects can do. And if you take coyotes, they can literally come in and devastate your herd of sheep or cattle, and or come in even and go after calves. So they are an apex predator. And I have a theory that maybe one of the reasons that the hogs, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, have been so prevalent is we just don't have an apex predator that goes after those feral hogs. A lot of people have told me that coyotes cannot really stop that many. Maybe they could go after some of the little piglets. And there's a dove that just flew off out of that dove weed, speaking of wildlife. And but that's just a theory of mine. I think when you start to get rid of some of the apex predators, I think that's where invasive species like feral hogs can get hold. So that's just a theory of mine. I have seen a few coyotes out here on this land, and to me, it's always kind of a cool thing when I see them. I don't see too many though, and that's a good thing because there are ranches around here that do have sheep and goat, and I understand the damaging effects that they can have. But the other wildlife out here that's extremely important is we have lots of birds. And the birds do a great job, especially around our high fence, our deer fence. They'll come and sit on it, swoop in during the day, and get lots of insects. We have scissortail birds out here, which are absolutely beautiful to watch them when they fly. I've actually done a couple of videos on the barn swallows, We have lots of barn swallows. One of them made a nest under our house this year. They are federally protected. They do a great job of going after insects. This is the time of year when they start to fly towards South America. We have a very large predatory bird out here, which is the crested caracara. I think we commonly refer to it as the Mexican eagle. Beautiful bird. Sometimes you'll see them flying in pairs. They are a raptor that will go, I think they will actually go down, swoop down after their prey, and I think they'll also go after carcasses that have of dead animals, just like I think eagles will do as well. We have a lot of finches that migrate through here. They're beautiful to see. I think there was a yellow warbler I saw one day inside one of our high tunnels. I had to help it get its way to get it flushed out at the end so it wouldn't be trapped in there. Hummingbirds, we see lots of hummingbirds, which are absolutely fantastic they actually are pollinators. And of course, our Texas bird, which is the mockingbird, see lots of those. Quail, the quail are absolutely, that's one of my favorite birds out here, is they're just short flight birds. And going back to my days of my animal science in college, I didn't think about this till I got to college, is I used to hunt dove and quail. And quail is blue meat and, excuse me, quail is white meat and dove is dark meat, because dark meat are the type muscle that has long flight, and white meat is birds that are short flight. And I did not know that till I got to college. Makes total sense, because when you think of turkeys or you think of chicken, that is white meat. And when you think of like dove, that's a dark blue meat, and they are long flight birds. I think the same thing with ducks. And we do see ducks out here as well. We see ducks, we see quail, we see dove, and the quail are absolutely uh, just awesome to see every day. Some mornings when I'm walking along this trail right here, is I will see several quail running in front of me. And during the summer, when they have, I guess it's their mating call, when they do the Bob White call, it's really cool to hear that. So the birds are extremely important out here and play a big role. And it's just neat to see all the different varieties. And if I was somebody that was a birder and knew different species, I could tell you more about what we see, because there's just so many different types here in the Texas Hill Country. Another thing that people see out here, I haven't seen one myself, is bobcats. I've been told that several have been spotted. A couple of kittens were spotted about 2 years ago right up the road from here. And that's a cool thing to me. That's another apex predator that's extremely important because we have a lot of cottontails out here. You see a lot of cottontail rabbits, and they find their way into my garden and they can be destructive. So having that apex predator in that case, again, is important. I've even heard stories of bobcats in the Texas Metroplex between Dallas and Fort Worth. People have seen them on golf courses. Ring cameras have seen them in town, and they've adapted. They've found a way to survive inside those metropolitan areas because, quite frankly, they may be small dogs could be prey. I hate to say that, but that's probably true. There's mice, there's rats in those larger metroplex areas. So those bobcats have found a way to survive, and good for them that they're there. Just hopefully they don't go after anybody's pet. I know that would be horrible. I certainly would hate that. But it's cool in these rural areas to be able to see that kind of wildlife in this area. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but just again, we have the two types of rabbits. We have the cottontails, and we also have the jackrabbits, which are actually a hare. I'm not a biologist, so I don't know the distinctive differences between. To me, they're both rabbits, but the cottontail and the jackrabbit. And the jackrabbits, thank goodness, when they get to be full grown, they're large enough they cannot get through the bottom part of our fence because the wires are so close together. They're big enough they can't get through it. And skunks, I don't have any videos of skunks out here because usually I'm moving away from them. So we do have skunks out here. Again, we have the rabbits. And then, of course, we do have snakes. And the snakes do play a role in going after pests out here as well. I've seen just about all the venomous snakes that you can see. I've seen a coral snake actually right at the base of one of our faucets one evening. I went down to shut the water off, and he was actually curled. This coral snake was curled around the bottom of that faucet. Scared me to death when I reached down. We've had rattlesnakes out here, not real frequently. We actually had a couple on our front porch, and luckily we saw them before anybody got hurt. Thank goodness. One was small, and one was he was a couple of feet long. So these were, and they say even the small rattlesnakes can have a lethality to them. So that's not great, but we don't see a lot. And then a snake that means a lot that we absolutely love having out here are our coach whips. And I've been told that coach whips will go after rattlesnakes. I've had people that have told me the story where they've seen coach whips actually go after rattlesnakes. So that's really a blessing. And we have several coach whips out here. Of course, we're now moving into late September. This is the time of year when those snakes start to hibernate. And usually we'll get to the end of September and you just don't see snakes anymore. It's just that time of year here in Zone 8, which is a warm zone. So there's a lot of different wildlife. And I guess the point I'm making is that all of this is interconnected and it is extremely important, whether from the apex predators down to the birds that are on your land. And I'll tell you one quick thing. My roommate in college, his family is ranching and he still ranches to this day. And I'll never forget, he said, the one price that I have some control over is my deer lease. He said, I don't have control over the price of cattle, beef. I don't have the control over my sheep and goat prices, but to some extent, I can control the price of that deer lease. And those are extremely important to those small and large ranches for income. So that's a big deal. That's important. We get lots of hunters. Austin's not that far away from here. And on any given weekend, you'll see the F-150s, F-250s pulling a trailer with an ATV on back. And my wife and I kind of chuckle. You can tell when the season, because they are lined up on Friday coming out this way, and on Sundays they're heading back to Austin. But it is big business, and it's important business. And the old saying we used to say in range and wildlife class is if you're seeing several deer on your land each day, you probably have too many deer. And I will say we have a doe and a couple of fawns that usually make their way in here each night. I see it on my security camera. There's a couple of bucks that come in here, and usually that doe will bed down those fawns, and then she'll go out and graze. And then usually about 4 or 5 in the morning, the camera will catch them as they make their way back out. And they're important to us. We enjoy. We don't hunt on this land because there's other leases around us, and that is commercial hunting land, and we want that to be prosperous. So for us, it's just enjoying seeing the deer and seeing the wildlife. And this is not a big enough piece of land to lease for hunting anyway. So again, I think it's all interconnected. I think it's a part of a healthy ecosystem to have that wildlife. As I'm walking along here, I'm seeing dove fly all around. We have had a lot of dove this year, and it's been a really good crop of dove this year. So I'm sure the hunters should be doing very well as I see 2 or 3 flying there. So that's my thoughts on just that interconnectivity. I hope that you can find a time when you can go out. If you live in a populated area in a large city, I hope you can find the time to get out and enjoy those wildlife settings. There's a lot of great state parks, no matter where you're at. Usually in the United States, there's great state parks, there's city parks, there's certainly national forest. There's great national parks out there. I know people, we always look at Yellowstone as kind of as our founding national park, but for most people, that's a long drive and or a long flight away and expensive, when there could be a lot of wildlife maybe within 30 or 40 miles of where you live, and that's something you can enjoy right in, literally in your backyard. So check those things out. I think it's a healthy thing to do, to go out and spend time in those rural settings, being able to enjoy that wildlife. And those of you who know more about birds can go out and do bird watching. So thanks again for finding our channel. I'm Jeff with Whirlwind Family Farm. Typically we do talk about gardening, but today that was just something that was on my mind. Again, we appreciate it. Again, it means a lot to this channel when you like, subscribe, certainly hit that bell for notification. And right over here, we'll have another video you can check out that'll take you further along in that education process of gardening. So it means a lot to do that. Thanks again. Blessings over you, your family, and your garden. Talk to you soon from Whirlwind Family Farm.